The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome this week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of radio affiliates here in Lancaster. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. And certainly I'm appreciative of some folks behind the scene. If it wasn't for their help, we wouldn't have a program. Certainly the staff here at Fairfield Christian Academy, where the program is actually produced. Our executive producer is Kelly Roberts, and she does a great job of lining up guests, getting the questions together, and a lot of good people behind the scenes that make this show possible. And certainly you, the viewers and listeners, that join us each and every week. We've got a great guest for the next couple weeks, Lieutenant Caplinger, Shad Caplinger, Post Commander here in Lancaster of the Highway Patrol.
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me, Sheriff.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been the commander here?
Since May of last year.
May of last year?
Yes, sir.
Wow. And so it's been a great relationship. You've done a terrific job, and
Thank you.
And I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, and look forward to continuing building our relationship. And certainly we're very blessed in this community to have the law enforcement folks work so well together.
Yeah, I know on a number of occasions the Lancaster Chief and you and I have had luncheons and talked about a lot of good stuff.
Yes, sir.
Brought some of your sergeants along and everything. First of all, before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up. And I know you come from a law enforcement background. Your dad was a police officer, BCI agent, now a deputy.
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm third generation. My grandfather was a police officer. Wow. And my dad was a police officer, and then he went to BCI to be a crime scene investigator, and then I joined the Highway Patrol. So we've kind of worn all of the uniforms in Ohio, and he serves currently as a deputy.
In Ross County?
Yes, sir.
So I know you have, 4 children?
I have 4 children. God's blessed me with 4 beautiful children and my lovely wife, and we're a wild and crazy bunch at times, but God's certainly blessed us.
And so, obviously, like I have a son that's a Columbus police officer, and I was a Columbus police officer, so I know there's a certain amount of pride when you see your son get into those kind of things. Is there anything else you'd ever considered wanting to do, or was it always kind of, I want to be in law enforcement?
Well, growing up when I was a young man, seeing my dad when he would bring the cruiser home, I just thought that was the neatest thing. And certainly was very proud when he would take me into the police department and I could see Grandpa's office and everything. And I thought I was neat behind the scenes and got to do all the fun things. So I really had never thought of any other career path. It was a lifelong dream to be in law enforcement, and God certainly blessed me with the opportunity to follow those childhood dreams and all the way through. So I never had a plan B, so I'm glad it worked out.
Brothers or sisters?
I have one sister.
Okay. And she go into law enforcement, or is she doing something else?
No, I was the only one. So.
You're the only one. Well, let's talk a little bit about some things going on. We got a couple weeks. You're going to be with us next week. But let's talk first of all about some of the responsibilities of the Highway Patrol. You know, I did a training with our deputies within the last few weeks, and one of the things I talk about is organizational norms, and they're kind of unique to an agency. Like some agencies are really good at with their appearance, and some with the way they handle the citizens and a lot of different things. And I always mention the Highway Patrol because as long as I can remember, you guys always look sharp. You really did, all creased and neat and everything. So what are some of the things that the Highway Patrol does that maybe the folks really aren't aware of?
Well, we investigate any crimes that occur on state property, any state-owned or leased property, which includes the prisons and the rest areas and certain properties that most folks probably don't anticipate seeing a cruiser in.
Okay.
We also enforce all the traffic laws on the roadways in Ohio, and that's any street, alley, or highway in the state of Ohio. And sometimes folks think that we're just out on the interstate or a state route, but as far as norms, I guess we do pride ourselves on our appearance, as you mentioned. We just try to do the best we can and provide that speedy service, which is why the flying wheel, as it's called, that we wear on our patch was designed that we would provide speedy service to the motoring public.
You know, I never knew that. So that's what that means.
There's our history for the day.
Well, I thought it might be like an angel or something.
Oh, well, maybe. Maybe.
So let's talk about traffic fatalities.
Yes, sir.
And any trending or anything we've seen within the state and here in Fairfield County.
Well, unfortunately, statewide, we're having an increase in traffic fatalities, which is alarming. As you and I have talked before, one is too many.
Right.
One impacts someone else. It's a loved one or it's a family, and it's never our goal to ever knock on someone's door and give them that tragic, unfortunate news. So statewide, this year in particular, it's trending upward. Now that comes after 3 consecutive years of having the safest years with the lowest traffic fatalities in recorded history. But specific to Fairfield County this year, we're seeing a reduction in fatal crashes.
Okay.
Which is the good news. However, we currently are sitting at 5 fatal crashes with 6 persons killed, which is 6 way too many. And we're continuing to work together, as all law enforcement is doing, to try to drive that number down to 0. And I know we're all committed. And until that number is 0 and we can keep it at 0, our work is never done.
So when you look at across the state, maybe even across the nation, what would be some of the leading causes that lead to these fatalities?
Well, I really think it all kind of boils down to the basic concept of decision making. For each decision that we make, there's consequences, good or bad. Now, particular to Fairfield and Perry County, which our Lancaster Post covers, running off the roadway or going left to center is our top fatal crash-causing violation. So maybe that's caused by excessive speed that causes someone to come out of a curve too fast, go off the roadway. There's several contributing circumstances, but a bad decision is going to lead to bad things in an automobile.
And when you look at, you talked about speed, and we hear a lot about the distracted driver, the people on their cell phones, mm-hmm. and certainly the impaired drivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all things that we'd like to eliminate, and we take a no tolerance policy too.
Right. So when we look at things specific to a family, is there some things that parents can do, especially with teen drivers? Because it seems to me that teen drivers, because of their inexperience, because they think they're invulnerable, where they don't think bad things can happen to them. They show off for their friends. Even it goes back as long as I can remember. Even when I was a kid, I would ride with kids, and they would drive too fast to show off. Mm-hmm. So, is there some things that parents can do as far as their role, as far as that with their teenage kids?
I really think so. You can never educate the public too much. You can't educate your children too much. You're putting your best in an automobile and giving them that awesome responsibility of being a driver on the roadway. So as a parent, I think you can ride with your children. You can mentor them into being a more responsible driver on the roadways. And really, that's all of our roles. We can educate the public. We can come up with innovative programs to make them safer, better drivers. But it has to be reinforced at home as well, I feel.
Yeah, I think so too. And another thing just came to mind is I think that they also have to understand that their kids are paying attention when they're driving. So if they see mom or dad going over the speed limit or not using their seat belt or those kind of things, they've got to really be a good role model, because it really is a situation where, sadly, most of us can remember a student or someone that was young that died in a car accident. You know, whether it was a fellow student, a relative, someone we knew. I know that one of my son's best friends, when he was 17, and they had wrestled together, they played football together, but he had a bee in his truck. He was on his way to Bloom Carroll, and Kelly might remember this. His name was John Walter, nice, wonderful young man, and he started trying to get this bee out of the car, lost control, overcorrected, hit the ditch on the other side, and he was killed tragically, and the two other people in the truck walked away. So parents really got to keep that in mind. Let's talk now. One thing that we've seen within the Highway Patrol, especially in the last few years, is the drugs, as far as their ability to take drugs. And I saw something with the governor where I was surprised how much drugs they've taken off the road last year.
Yes, if you contact the Highway Patrol website, it's rather alarming at times to see. We'll just put a snapshot as to current drug seizure activity. And these are troopers that are in their daily duties, stopping vehicles and pulling drugs out of those vehicles and removing it from our highways. But it happens very frequently, and of course it's a statewide picture, but unfortunately we have seen an increase in that.
Going back, your career within the State Highway Patrol, any kind of memorable event or something that happened along the way? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but something that kind of came to mind to you that said, wow, this is really either good or really kind of tragic or whatever?
There's been lots of moments in my career, and like I said, I thank God for the opportunity. I certainly say my prayers every day as I'm performing my duties, and God's blessed me with success.
Yes.
And I've also seen, just like everyone that wears a uniform, you see the tragedy on the other side, and there's a lot to be said for going home at the end of the day and thinking I've made my community safer today by my actions, and certainly answers to prayers. But there's also that point where you witness tragedy and you think, how can I prevent this from ever happening again? And you see both sides of the coin, unfortunately, in this line of work, you know.
Right, and I think and I've said this before, the toughest thing for me, and it's been, since I've been removed from this for a period of time, but when I used to work in the patrol division, would be to make those notifications, to make those death notifications, because it's really an unexpected event in people's lives. I think many times we go along and think these bad things always happen to someone else. So to walk up to a door, knock on a door, and give them that information, wow, it's very difficult, as you know.
It is, and I think it makes us hold our family more dear to our hearts, because you see folks that, especially working on the Highway Patrol, you see folks that have left their home or their work, and they're just planning to go somewhere else. They weren't planning on their life ending at that moment.
Normal day.
And tragically, we have to give that news. So.
Well, sorry to leave on such a downer, but we're just about out of time. I'd like to have you back next week, talk a little bit about OVI checkpoints, some programs that you're working on here in the Lancaster area as far as safety for our community.
Yes,
so if you could come back, we'd appreciate it.
I look forward to it. Thanks, Sheriff.
Lieutenant Caplinger, Lancaster Commander of the Highway Patrol. Appreciate him taking time out of his schedule. Well, the clock on the wall says we're just about out of time, and do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners. Until next week, same time, same place. God bless, and we'll see you right here.
Gosh, Darlene, it sure is amazing how much we have in common.
I know, Larry. We both love three-car pileups. We both were built in Buffalo.
And we both know wearing safety belts help save thousands of lives.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
Don't mind Vince. He's getting over a bad breakup.
I know. Janet's picking up the pieces, too. They're in here.
I wish they understood it's all worth it to get people to buckle up.
Hey, lacerated lovebirds, I sense a major crush.
You could learn a lot from a dummy.
Buckle your safety belt.
Talk about head over heels.